Hi everybody, my name is Sandy Boucher and welcome back to The Learning Curve. As always, this show is here to build bridges and understanding between the people that live and breathe and work and exist in the city of Thunder Bay, especially when it comes to relations between non-Indigenous and Indigenous people. But a lot of the challenges we see in this city cross cultural lines. It's an opportunity to actually work together, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Today we're going to look at a word that you may have come across or definitely seen in the news stories of late, and that's the word activist. I know I often refer to myself as an Indigenous activist, even though in the past I've been told I shouldn't do that because that word has negative connotations to it. I personally just don't believe that's true. So we're going to look at what activism is and what it means and why it's important. We're also going to take a very personal look at racism. It's another word you see in the news and maybe you're a little tired of seeing it, but we're going to look at it from a personal perspective so that you can understand why it's important to have these conversations. So as always, I invite you to go grab that coffee, head for your comfy chair, and together you and I are going to walk through the learning curve. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Learning Curve. Once again, my name is Sandy Boucher and today I'm here with Brittany Oligriz.
Yes.
Yes, I got it, yes. I've been practicing that, you didn't see that behind the scenes. Now, you've been on the show before, if you recognize Brittany, and you agreed to come out today because we have a couple really important topics to talk about.
Yes.
But before we get into that, it's all about relationships. I'm still learning about you, even though I love everything you do and say, and it's awesome. So refresh my memory. Are you from Thunder Bay?
Yes. So
Yes.
I grew up here, and then I went to study at university in Ottawa, ultimately came back, and now I'm about to serve my second term as Vice President of the Caribbean African Multicultural Association of Thunder Bay.
Wow, that's amazing. Can I say this? You look like you're 12. So to have accomplished so much, the older I get, the younger everyone gets. And I know
agree.
I've heard that before, right?
I agree.
I forget where I was, but it was a group of like 18-year-olds, and I was like, they're not over 10. Like, oh my God, right?
I know. I see them now, and I'm like, you guys look so young.
Right? So, okay, it's not just me. But how long have you been back from Ottawa?
I've been back about 2 years now.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't long. How long were you in Ottawa?
I was there for about 5.5 years.
Okay. Did you love it? Hate it? Somewhere in between?
I really like Ottawa. I would move back if I found the right opportunity, I think. It's just, and I like that it's a political center. So I think that there's lots of opportunity to volunteer and do activist work there.
Awesome. Excellent. And that's just running through your veins, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the reason I asked that is I actually, and it's one of the things I just realized, I know a lot of people who at different points in time ended up in Ottawa. And they all seem to have a positive response, positive description, or they said they'd go back. So yeah, and I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Toronto, sure, we all go to Toronto for work or whatever, but yeah, Ottawa seems to be the place to be. Maybe that's a sign of the times or something. So activism, we're going to talk about activism.
Yes.
A big grin on the face. Well, do you consider yourself an activist?
I'm definitely an activist.
Okay, honestly, so am I.
Yeah.
And I totally own that now. She laughs because we know each other.
Yeah.
So I own that now, but honestly, the first time I was referred to as an activist, it was by someone else. And I was like, what? Right? Am I an activist, right? So you own it, you choose it, right? You seem quite comfy with it. So when I say activist or activism, what comes to mind for you? What does that mean to you?
The first thing that always comes to mind when somebody says activism is just showing up. I think that a lot of the part of activism is showing up, so either metaphorically or literally in person to protest, and really being there to be an ally, support causes that don't directly affect yourself, and then welcoming allies into your space when you have an issue that you really want to bring forward to the media or to political politicians and people. So.
Right. You touched on so many amazing things in that 10-word sentence. So I love showing up first and foremost, and I totally agree, right? I think complacency is what is dangerous, right? Yeah. When people stay silent and just allow things to happen. I love that you pointed out that it means standing up for something, even if it doesn't personally affect you, right? Which is huge. The other thing now, and especially as an Indigenous woman, when you said allowing space for the allies to be there, and I totally agree with that. And we've talked about allyship before. That's not about taking over the microphone or taking over the event, but we do have amazing allies in this city. And if they want to show up and help hold space so you can do what you need to do, I think that's something that needs to be celebrated and recognized. So, and we have a habit of showing up at the same events. So, now, have you always been an activist, or this is something, did you find this in school, or you always been like this? Were you protesting in kindergarten, Brittany?
You know, I think that throughout my schooling, even in high school and elementary school, I was always concerned about what was right, and then standing up for what was right, as opposed to staying in a space that would be comfortable and where I would have lots of friends. And in university, just through courses that I was taking in the Women's Studies department, I really came to understand just the levels of oppression that people exist and live with in Canada. And I really wanted to do something about it, and some of them affect me, some of them don't, but it's just, I feel like it's just a part of me. I recognize the calling, and I just knew that it's really how I wanted to dedicate a lot of my time. Awesome. And it's interesting that you said the first time somebody called you an activist, you were taken aback. And I was too, but I think I was just lucky because I was with someone at the time who was really empowering to me. Yep. And so I felt like at the time I was saying a lot of, well, I can't, that won't be me. Like, what do you mean I can't do that? And then he was introducing me, this is like Brittany, she's an activist. And I said, and it was just such, it helped me create my platform to step up. Yep. For him to have that confidence in me.
Yeah, I think for me it was almost acknowledging the stage I was standing on, like, and not realizing I was there.
Exactly.
So in my case, it was actually online. It was a mentor, someone I absolutely respect. I think I would have taken it differently if it had any kind of negative connotation to it, but this person has never been anything but supportive. It's actually one of my elders, so let me give you the context here. Yeah. And for her to refer to me as an activist, like I said, I was like, was that a positive? Right? I don't know. But then she is most definitely an activist. So I was like, well, wait a minute. It can't be a negative, right? Yeah. So I won't be calling herself down. So that's not a thing. So I was thinking about this show after our conversations and as I was preparing for it. And we all know that Thunder Bay has a most interesting national reputation. And it's not a positive one in any way, shape, or form. But I was thinking that, I don't know if it's because of that or because of a lot of different challenges that are happening in this city, but it also seems to be this amazing birthplace of all this activism. I know now it might just be the circle of people I know, but I know so many amazing, strong voices that I see at different events, even if it's an event that doesn't affect me personally, like you said. And just to see people standing up and asking why, or saying this doesn't work for me, or we need change is just, I don't know, and I meant to ask you what activism feels like to you, but to me, for lack of a better way of putting it, it just feels good. It's very empowering. It definitely removes you from victim status, right? So it's, no, I'm drawing my little line, even if it's really close to me and very faint. I'm taking a stance, and I'm choosing to believe in something or to work towards something. Is that what it's like for you?
I think for me, it just really feels like community, and like I'm receiving a lot of love and also just giving a lot of love back to the community, and I think towards people and causes that don't get enough. So.
And you just, again, we're just going to keep talking because you just keep feeding me these amazing comments, but community, because to me, now this is my interpretation, but that complacency is a not caring. Whereas activism is the exact opposite. It's saying, no, I care about my city, and I care about my neighbor, and I care about, you know, what's going on here, and I want it to be a great place for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Yes. We're community activists now. I've never worn that title before, so I'm okay with that. I love this city. So. But how important do you think activism is, especially in this day and time where I was just watching some of the news programs, and it's like, I just shake my head half the time now. So how important do you think it is?
I think it's one of the most important things happening, not only in Thunder Bay, but in Ontario, Canada, North America. People are standing up and they're recognizing that things aren't fair, and that 50 years in the future, they're just going to continuously be worse. And the future that we're setting our children up for right now is setting them up for a really scary life.
Yeah. You're not a parent.
Not yet.
Right? Yeah, okay, so I was a parent at a young age, so I've been a mom for a long time, but I say, you think I was an activist then. Now that I'm a grandma, and I'm fighting for that world that you're talking about, that my grandchildren are going to live in, and I'm not going to be here to protect them, it's like, it just made me even more of an activist, because it is. It's about caring, and I don't think activism and ego or self-centered thinking don't go together in my world. The activists I think of, it's fighting for a greater good, or for a group or a community. Like I said, it's not an ego trip. It's not about getting my name out there. It's about serious change. And a lot of people, like you were just saying, are fighting for change for either other people, so it doesn't even affect them, or for the future that they may not even be here, right? So it's actually the opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
You must hang out with a bunch of amazing activists. I want to be a fly on the wall listening to your conversations.
I think you must meet so many interesting people. So I know our circles, you know, cross now and then. And yeah, I think that I have had some opportunities to really talk with people and have a bit of an influence on policy and just on potential changes that people can make in their positions.
Exactly. And I think one breeds the other, right? So when you start sharing your voice and you start trying on that activist jacket, then you're invited to those events and you're asked your opinion, and it almost becomes easier and easier to use your voice. I was joking around earlier about being quiet is not something that ever happens in my world, and that's okay. Like I'm definitely, again, not doing it to hog the mic, but if important things need to be said, they need to be said, and I'm fine with someone else saying it, but if it's not, then we have to. It's responsibility, right? It's not a choice. It's that calling, like you said, I'm just going to own that I have to do this. And funny, I didn't come into it early like you did. It was definitely, I think I was the other side of the offense. I was so oppressed, felt so oppressed, whether that was, I mean, that was just my reality, and stifled my voice for so long that when I could finally share it, I had years to make up for. God help us, right? So awesome. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to switch the topic a little bit, and we're going to talk about racism from a totally different slant. And I'm actually going to introduce you to a new term. So go ahead, get that coffee, and I'll see you back here in a few moments. Hi everybody, once again it's Sandy Boucher and welcome back to The Learning Curve. We're here today talking to Brittany Breeze. Sorry. I tried, I so didn't get it.
It can be hard.
Right? I'm such a visual person. When I see it written, I'm all good, but trying to remember, yeah, not going to happen. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. I'm going to own it. So now we're going to talk about racism. I've experienced it. You've experienced it. We see it mentioned in the news all the time, but it was funny when we were talking about this show, you came up with a phrase I had never heard before, and you tend to have more academic experience, or that's a background of yours that I don't have. So I love it when I have the opportunity, like, ooh, new term. What does that mean? What have we captured now? So the term was, I'm going to get this straight, racial battle fatigue.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, now you've got my attention. So what is this? What does this mean?
Well, racial battle fatigue is a way of understanding racism as a psychological stressor on people who are visibly racialized. Okay. And I think that it happens through microaggressions that we may experience on a day-to-day basis that really keep adding up, and then it creates this stress that has symptoms that are not only psychological but also behavioral. So a behavior one could be withdrawing and isolation, and also physiological effects, including things like chest pain. It can be rashes. Yeah, that really, because stress causes so much damage in the body. Yeah.
So we're really tying racism to stress, because it's, if you've never experienced it, it is so not fun. And when I first heard the term, fatigue got my attention, because I have long been quoted as saying racism may be a topic of discussion for someone who doesn't experience, but it's a lived experience for someone who does. It's not something we choose to discuss. It's something we have to endure on a daily basis, right? If I leave my house. Or in some cases, unfortunately, if I turn on my computer or turn on my TV, because phrasing is so important and something I'm really becoming aware of, just that paternalistic attitude, especially where Indigenous people are concerned. And I was like, would you quit claiming ownership over me, please? And thank you. So, but it is exhausting.
It is.
Right?
And so, yeah, living in an environment that we perceive as hostile, and it's very stressful to the body. And I think that when I say the term racial battle fatigue, even if people don't understand the concept behind it, there's just this understanding among racialized people. They're just like, I get it. You haven't explained it to me, but I know what you're talking about, because I felt just that exhaustion that you feel as if you can't even really go on with your activist work, or you really need to take time to self-care. And and that's really the best way. It's just, it really stresses the importance of self-care and taking time to really focus on recouping your energy, resting your body, making sure that your body is healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And for the viewers, if you're not marginalized, racialized, or Indigenous, if you're white, for the term we'll use, imagine being in a country or an environment where you're the only one that is white. And how you would feel understanding you don't know the customs, you don't use the same terminology, that the rules are not set by people who understand you, and that'll give you a small glimpse of what it's like. I know when I heard the term battle, because we're constantly fighting to be understood, even if, and I think people don't understand, even if you're asked just to explain something, if it's the 52nd time you've had to explain that, or especially the 52nd time in one day, it gets exhausting. And it's not, like, I'm not saying that's bad that they asked, at least they want the understanding, but if we can understand that I'm not always in the space to be able to provide that information right now, like maybe I'm just fatigued, right? And I know for anyone considering any kind of activism work, you better have the self-care plan in place. a way to be able to turn off those comments, to rejuvenate. I know I listen to my mommy, bonus points, and I've made a point of constructing what I call sanctuary. So my home is filled with things that are comforting to me, that bring me joy, that like literally I walk in the front door and just sigh, right? Because it's that place. And there are times I know where I just have to shut off the TV, shut off the phone, shut off the computer, and just be in sanctuary. It was interesting that you described, when you described the stressors that you feel on the body, it reminded me ages ago, I heard they were talking about what it's like to live in the city and to hear that constant noise in the background and the constant stressors, and that you are not conscious of the fact this is constantly bombarding your body. So would that be a fair comparison, do you think?
I definitely think it is, because it adds up slowly, I think. Yeah. And it just keeps accumulating. Well,
and what really highlighted that for me, and I'll be the first to admit, you're not conscious of it. You exist in this world, and life goes on. But when I go back to a community, when I'm in a First Nations community doing a seminar, workshop, whatever, there is always this sense of I'm home. Here I don't have to explain why I see the world this way. They just get it. That dumb joke I just told, they got it, right? And it just seems like there's just such a massive relief. And I know there's been discussion and comment about people, why do they return to the reserve? Why don't they go back to communities? And I was like, well, I know why I do, right? I need that break, that just, I can breathe here, right? So I'm curious, where do you go? What does your self-care plan entail?
My self-care is definitely exercise.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, so I love that. It's really great because, you know, it hits the body and the mind. And I think that I also take breaks from social media. I think that that's my main way of talking about activism, receiving news, sharing news. So when I need to take a break from that, I'll shut down my social media for a couple of days, or as long as I need, just to have the energy to go back to it. And I think it's just, it's so good to highlight self-care, because self-care is very empowering. And so it's a very empowering position, even within activism. And one of my friends, who's also an activist, Cassie Thornton, who's at the Rival Lab that's located in the law school. Yeah. Yeah, and she has this concept that you don't always need to do the work, so you can rest and then just know that other people are doing the work for you, and you're still in the circle of community. And so you can take a break. And so she applies this in her feminist yoga with a physical example, right? So you're doing exercise, but then if you need to take a break, it's okay, because other people are doing the work for you and for your body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so, and for your spirit and everything. So I love that concept. And so that's how I frame it to people, because I think that we all just need to understand that self-care is an empowered position. It's not one to kind of be ashamed of, or try and have, or feel like you need to explain it to other people.
Exactly. My mom, going back to my mom again, mom's getting kudos today. She used to always say, teach other people how to treat you. So if you want other people to respect you, you have to respect yourself. Yeah. If you want other people to be kind to you, you have to be kind to yourself. So I fight a lot for respect for Indigenous people, and realize that means I have the right to say no, and I have the right to say, no, I just need downtime tonight. I'm not going anywhere. And the other thing, and it took me years to realize that, so kudos to you for having such great teachers. After I got involved in activism and just met so many people, it made it easier to take the night off. Yeah. Because when you know 52 activists, you know someone's out there doing something, right? And just understanding we can't save the world all by ourselves. And we can't save the world if we're exhausting ourselves, right? So we really gotta, the best soldiers take a break, right? I'm curious, CAMAT? How do you pronounce it? CAMAT. So C-A-M-A-T, what does it stand for?
The Caribbean African Multicultural Association of Thunder Bay.
Say that 3 times fast. Where are you located? Do you have a space, or are you an entity?
Well, we hold space for our meetings at the Multicultural Center, but we aren't a program under their head. So we're an organization of our own.
Okay, separate and distinct.
Yes.
How long have you been around?
CAMAT has been around for over 30 years now.
Wow, in Thunder Bay?
Yeah, it has.
I didn't know this. Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And what kind of things do you offer? Services, events, anything?
Well, we do programming that's really focused on anti-racism and youth, and so there's an offshoot of CAMAT that's now its own organization called Our Black Youth that's just doing great things. Wow. Yeah, with Black youth that are still in schools and just really allowing them space to understand their history and their culture in a way that they're really not accessing in school. And I know that we have some initiatives. I don't want to say them right now because they're not finalized.
Okay, that's cool. But you've got exciting things coming up.
Yes, we have exciting things coming up for next year.
Excellent.
Yes.
Would you believe our time's up? Already?
No.
Already. We definitely have to get together more often.
Definitely.
But thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
As always, we shared so much information today. Just keep in mind that there's a lot to be proud of here, and one of the things we can be proud of are the activists that are out there fighting hard to make a difference. If you are interested in activism, or if you've already taken up that fight, then please, as discussed, make sure you have a self-care plan in place, whatever that is, whether it's exercise, making sure you're getting rest, even if it means meeting with other activists so you can just debrief and let that stuff go. And it might mean shutting off social media for an evening. I know I've had to restrict my access as well a few times. Together we can make a difference. I know I've seen it in my time, and this city is worth fighting for. So are the people that live here. So until next time, take care of yourself. I'm Sandy Boucher, and this is The Learning Curve. Bye-bye.